everyone. This is David Stark from WatchOurPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today, I'm joined by Anna Elizabeth James, the writer and director of Deadly Illusions, an erotic thriller starring Kristin Davis. We're going to talk to her in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
You're Mary Morrison, a bestselling author.
I hear you're in the midst of adding another book to the series. All I can say is, finally.
Congratulations. What you need is a full-time sitter.
I'm Grace. Hi, Grace.
She can't be real.
Like I have my girlfriend back, huh?
I could never have gotten this far without you. You are the best partner a girl could ever have.
You're so hot.
Maybe I can.
All I want to do is make you happy.
I've never felt more loved, more a part of anything than when I'm here with you.
So thank you so much for joining me. This is Anna Elizabeth James, the writer and director of Deadly Illusions, an erotic thriller starring Kristin Davis, which releases on VOD on June 1st, 2021. So I guess the first question is, what was the inspiration for this? Was it a terrible nanny experience? Was it a terrible writing experience? Was it somewhere in between? How did you come up with the story?
Well, thanks so much for having me, David. This was really fun. It's a great question. Yeah, one would think that I did have a terrible nanny service. I am a mom of 4 kids. 3 of my kids are older, though. They're in their teen years. I guess, well, I'll share 2 things. Like, first of all, I didn't really have nannies, so I would fantasize, like, what would that would be like to have someone do all these things for you, like the laundry and the dishes and everything. So maybe that was in my deep subconscious part of my mind. But the real impetus for the seed of the idea came from, I worked with Greer Grammer on a movie called Emma's Chance. It's a nice, darling family film with morals, and
where she murders them slowly in their sleep. Is that
right? Yeah. And yeah, just on the 4th or 5th day of working with her in this tween, calming world, my brain was like, oh my gosh, she would be so diabolical as a sweet, innocent nanny who, by the onset of observing her, one would find that seductive. And then maybe there's layers there. So because Greer does have such a rainbow of color, right? I mean, if you knew her before Deadly, you would only assume a certain part of color. And hopefully now you see all the colors with her. So I guess I had a good intuition on that. When I shot that first movie, when we wrapped, literally after I got a shower, the idea came to me and I was like, well, that's weird. Hand That Rocks the Cradle's already been done. Like, these have all been done, like, push it away. And then I was like, no, there's something different here and I need to explore it. So over the next 1.5 years, 2 years, it just kept coming back into my mind until the point that I pitched it to her.
I liked your description of being able to see all the colors of Greer. Maybe another name for the film could have been like 50 Shades of Greer. That would be a
brilliant. Yeah, totally.
Co-marketing. Well, yeah, and I'm glad that you brought her up because it was really fun to see her because she could kind of flip, the switch. Even in the middle of a scene, she could go from like innocent and then just even change the way her eyes looked, and all of a sudden it would feel sinister. And that's a very interesting observation that you had when she was filming this lovely children or tween movie. So
yeah, I think after we wrapped that movie, I got to know her better and better. Through social media, we've started to bond more, and I saw her in all these different facets. We actually, on my birthday that year, we celebrated and smoked cigars. So that was
I liked that aspect too. I liked Kristin Davis smoking cigars because it seemed very badass and boss of her when she was out on her deck or out on her balcony smoking a cigar and just thinking.
Yeah, it's like monster vibes. Like,
yeah,
I got a book, I gotta pay the bills. Yeah. So Greer definitely. She was born to do this, regardless of the fact that she's Kelsey Grammer's daughter. She really has it. And I joke that she is the Leo to my Marty Scorsese, or she is the Jason Statham to my Guy Ritchie. Like, I'll always want to work with her and have roles for her.
Awesome. And then, so this was also, I think this was your first full length feature length writing credit, unless maybe some things were out of order, but at least on the biography, it's your first feature length writing credit. So what was that like? I mean, you've written a lot of shorts, and I imagine this is just, you start with a short and then you write longer. But what was it like to kind of take that on and really kind of flesh out a story, for your first feature length?
Well, the two horse movies I actually wrote as well. And then I sold a script while I was in film school to Skydance called I Do Over, but that has not been made yet. It's a really fun rom-com. I set out to make thrillers with heart, or basically dive into these realms that I felt are lacking in the female gaze. I felt like just putting myself in those arenas would just, create these, hopefully like fresh ideas. And then just observing that, like in film school, like comparing and contrasting like what my peers were coming up with, and also the fact that I was already a mother, so I was coming from like a totally different world. And I thank goodness, our mentors really encouraged us to dip into like what we know, right? But in regards to like writing a full feature that is basically a psychosexual thriller.
Very similar to family friendly horse movies.
Yeah, so similar, right? It's like such a departure. It was one of these ideas that I actually wrote in the margins. Like there's your main idea page, like these are all my brilliant ideas, and then there's this weird thing on the side, and it just kept coming back to me. And I pitched it to my manager one day, and she's like, "That's really interesting. I think you should, write that down in treatment form." And then this was also after I had pitched to Greer, and I pitched every scene to Greer, and she's like, "I'm totally in." And then that really scared me, because I was actually afraid of the material. I was like, what is this? Why am I even longing to do this? But now, after like time has passed and doing like these interviews, if I was to psychoanalyze myself, I think as a kid, I loved those Christopher Pike books. I love those like classic thrillers that fuck with your mind.
Yeah.
And I love all the versions that all of the directors who happen to be male come up with. It's like I'd love to dip into these worlds from the female gaze, like, and hopefully create some dialogue there.
It's interesting that you also were kind of, fearful is the wrong word, but kind of like, I guess maybe intrigued, maybe a little horrified of coming up with these ideas, because it also kind of feels like how Mary was in the film, where she, didn't want to go to these dark places, but knew that's, where she had to go for the writing. So I guess, I assume you put some of yourself into the Mary character, as, she's a writer, you're a writer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very meta situation. Very good observation. I would not say I am Mary, but definitely tapping into what it takes to write. You're in your imagination, and I love that idea of like, are you so far into your imagination that your reality is skewed?
I mean, I don't know, writer, intrigued by Greer, smoking cigars. You might be Mary.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good observation. Maybe you're right.
And was the writing process, I really liked seeing Kristin Davis as Mary's writing process, where she had note cards of ideas and kind of connecting them, almost like a crime scene. Is that how you write, or was that just a visualization for the film itself?
That's a great question, because we get a lot of slack about that writing process. So I do write pen to paper first, because I find that electronics are a buzzkill for the creative part of your brain. And I chew on it a lot with the pen and paper. And then once I'm at a really strong place, then I'll go to the laptop. In regards to the note cards on the board, no, I do not do that. But I feel like that's a metaphorical visual representation for like a Pinterest board, or just where your brain's at. And also to evoke how, real life and the imaginary life can be interconnected.
Well, it's also just a really good way to kind of clue the viewer in without having to like sit there and have her read the script, or physically say things. It's a great way to kind of give hints, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's just a fun cinematic tool, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you are the writer and the director. So, I guess after the script was written, it sounds like Greer was already on board. How did you then kind of move this forward, get funding, get your cast, get all that started? Because that, writing is daunting enough, but then writing and directing the film is got to be just a wonderful nightmare, would probably be a good way to describe it.
Yeah, there has to be a deeper reason why you're making the film than just for fun, because you won't make it. Like, it's not enough juice to get through the hard parts. I was really fortunate. My business partner and the individual who has funded my development company, he was not only there financially, but also as a mentor in business, right? And so with that help, along with my manager and my lawyer, like my team, we were able to hit the pavement and gather certain components. Like, you need a strong legal team, you need connections with agents and managers, and you have to hire a really sprightly, forward-thinking, like, casting director who has energy and can pitch the project. And so when we sent the script out wide, it was considered a hot script. It was like a page turner. And some people interpret it as like really like hardcore porn or like pornography, because I was very visual in the writing. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to have utter clarity with the actors and whoever was reading that we're going there, but we're not going to show it. And I wrote a letter at the beginning, like, the question is, can we create something as tantalizing as pornography, but with the idea of less is more? Can we basically be a juxtaposition to that realm? And so that was the challenge I presented myself, because they say you should write about what you're pissed off about, and one of the things I'm pissed off about is that the way female sexuality is portrayed in narrative film. Obviously, I'm not saying this is the only way, but this is definitely one way where it shows that for us, for the female gaze, it's more cerebral. Like, sexuality is more in our, if you want to turn us on, like, hit our brains, right? Because the film itself is, that brain puzzle that you're going on, that mind fuck of a ride. So I'm really proud of that. I guess I'm going on a tangent now. Your original question was—
Feel free to go on tangents. There's no structure here.
Oh yeah, with Kristin Davis. So her team actually responded overwhelmingly excited about the material, and I loved her. She was at the top of my list. So it was like, oh my goodness, if I could get Kristin Davis, it would be the greatest treasure of my life. And she is not only super talented and beautiful, she's savvy, she's clever, she brought ideas to the table, she made me a better writer. She all around, it was just this super collaborative endeavor. And along with Dermot and Shanola and Greer, like, I couldn't have ended up with a better cast that really understood what we're trying to achieve with this material. And I think, again, that letter at the beginning, I put it out there, like, in the clearest form, like, we're gonna do all this in a classy way and show less is more.
Yeah, but it's also, I'm glad that you put that letter out there, because you hear stories about how people get pressured into doing things for the art. So it's good that you kind of laid out the groundwork early. And then,
yeah, like, if this isn't for you, like, it's not going to work. So I think all of us wanted to enter into this space.
And it's also interesting that you mentioned that this was kind of like a hot script, or like, people considered it porn, considering that 50 Shades and I don't know the others, 50 Free, I don't know what the other ones are, but those have all been out, and those are mainstream films. And so it's weird that it would still have this mentality that, this seedy, script.
Yeah. Well, and I think the psychosexual thriller has been missing from the zeitgeist and the array of films that we have for a long time, like almost, I would say, over a decade. And so a lot of folks are shocked by it, even within the industry. It's like, whoa, this is like way out there. But the truth is, we've been doing it forever. It just, in the last decade, we've sort of not. And I think it was time, like, if a male director had gone out with this, and there are that do that, it maybe would have been received differently, but because it was coming from, you know, the female filmmaker, I think that's also another facet of what makes it interesting. Like, so the script was considered a hot script, but nobody knew who I was. Like, doing 2 family films doesn't get you very far. Like, great.
Doesn't get you far in the erotic thriller venue, no.
They're like, who is this chick and what does she think she's trying to do? So basically it's like starting over from scratch. And I really tried to kick myself and push myself and challenge myself to just go for it. And it was super scary, but I figured, what do I have to lose? Like, if I don't do this now, I mean, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 42, and I figure the next 20 years is it. Like, we gotta show up and put out really interesting, forward-thinking films. At least I think it's forward-thinking, or, you know, a little bit more progressive in this realm. So yeah, so no one knew who I was, and that was a big hurdle, because, you know, it takes a lot for someone to sign on to basically an unproven psychosexual thriller director. So everyone on my team that was a part of the making of this film is like literally my heroes. They're my heroes for life, for sure.
And now your resume has 2 very nice extremes, nice you know, bookends, and then you can fill it out or keep going either way.
Yeah. And I just helped my buddy from film school, Jamie Winterstern, write a Storm Anomaly movie called Supercell, starring Alec Baldwin. And the cast is incredible on that. And I was just on set last week visiting them, and the footage is looking fantastic. But that's another like realm of screenwriting that I love. I love that genre. Yeah, so we'll see what the future holds, you know.
Who knows? I mean, this last year has been so weird already. Like, who knows what the future holds?
I know. And I think also, like, my sound designer, Nathan, he mentioned it. I think he really hit the nail on the head. He's like, the film, like, because we did really well on Netflix and we came out of nowhere. I thought we were going to be this nice little art house film that hits festivals, but there were no festivals. Like, so we got sold to Netflix, and that's exciting. But when you just like put it out there, it's shocking for a lot of people. So there's extreme love and extreme hate for the film, which is really, that dichotomy is really interesting, and it just kept fueling more frenzy. Anyway, so Nathan was saying, he's like, I think the film actually is sort of an id of the experience we all just had through the pandemic, like where you think you're going crazy and you can't make heads or tails of anything. And so I thought that was spot on.
Yeah, no, and I'm not surprised that an erotic thriller did well when it was released on Netflix, when everyone's stuck at home and can't go out. Like, it's kind of a perfect storm in that case.
Like, yeah, let's shake things up at home. Like, I need something to shake my world up, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're supposed to laugh, and you're supposed to have fun, and it's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be a ride. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that some of the points you brought up were, you know, pretty. I noticed them in the film as well. Like, I liked that Kristin Davis's character was the breadwinner. You know, she wasn't a subservient force in this relationship. She was, you know, she kind of played it how she wanted to. I liked how she was, you know, smoking cigars and kind of, you know, running the house, but also happy to kind of take a step back when she wanted to. Like, it was an interesting character, and not one that I think you normally see in these types of films. So
thank you for saying that. Yeah, I got notes back early on that, you know, oh, the couple should have marriage problems, or, you know, like these things that we've just become accustomed to. And I'm like, no, you can have a great marriage and still have longings and sexual desires. And if film is a form of art, and art is a form of therapy, then to see that on the screen and go, oh, it's not unusual, the experience I'm having in my marriage. I've had a great marriage for 20 something years, and I'm having these longings. Like, so I really wanted to put that out there. In addition, that we as women and mothers, or mentors to children, we go through different seasons of our life, and sometimes we're right there with them all the time, and sometimes we have to go hit the pavement and be the breadwinner. And so I love that you appreciate that too.
Definitely. I don't really care where the money comes in our household as long as it comes in. I couldn't care
Yeah,
less.
you're like,
Yeah.
yes, someone's helping pay the bills. Like, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess the other question is the other main awesome character in this film is the house. The house was beautiful. Where was this house? I assume it was somewhere in California because I recognize some of the like red tile, roofs look like maybe I don't know. I'll just throw out Monterey. Maybe I'm not sure where it was actually filmed, but
I love that you're bringing up the house. So I grew up in Northern California, in Sacramento Valley, but also in the Bay Area. My father was a veterinarian. So I was exposed to a lot of this architecture. That's where the opening of the film is, Stinson Beach. And then you see it later on. So I grew up around fog. I grew up around this like climate, and it was my entire childhood. So for me, it was the perfect place to put the story. They say, only write things that you know about, right? You'll have a better experience when you do that. Because you can nail it, hopefully. And so we actually shot the film in New Mexico.
oh,
And in my lookbook, my vision book for the team that was sent out, the house in that was very modern, very Northern California. And I'll never forget, the location manager was like, that's gonna be really hard to find here. And I'm like, well, we're gonna find it, And sure enough, the only home that really fit that description was on this location site. And I'm like, that's the house, we have to get it. And he's like, I don't know. She says she's not gonna allow filming there anymore. And bless her heart, the owner, Lori, she designed the home. It's made out of cement. So that's why the walls are and it's just such a great backdrop for what we're in, this like mindfuck of a ride. And so to this day, Lori and I are good friends. She has a beautiful family. She loved the script and my intentions behind it. And so I don't know if she's allowing any more filming in her home, but she definitely should be applauded for the designing of that home.
yeah, it was a great house, and maybe I should look in New Mexico. Maybe I should look at some other places to live.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you there.
Yeah. So now I'd like to go, I call it the lightning round. It's just very lightweight questions that kind of relate to the characters and the film. I want to see how your experiences relate. And since, it seems like you're the writer and maybe some of this was inspired by your own experiences, these might relate closer. You can obviously feel free to pass. I try to keep them answerable, but it's all supposed to be lightweight and fun. So if you don't want to answer one, don't worry.
Okay.
But I do try to keep them answerable. So the first question is, how do you overcome writer's block?
Make tea, take a bath.
All right. It's a good process. Next question is, have you ever made a bad investment?
No.
That's awesome. The next question was going to be, do you smoke cigars? But you already mentioned that you did, so we can pass.
Let's be more specific. I smoke Davidoffs,
Okay.
number 2s, and the cigarillos, the little that come in the compacts.
All right, perfect. I just was going to say just cigars in general, but I like that you were very specific on it. Would you describe any of your swimsuits as, I think this is how you described in the film, as out of a Playboy catalog?
That's a funny question.
You wrote it.
Yeah, I guess in my younger years, I felt like I needed to be modest, but I knew that there was swimsuits that were on all accounts considered modest, but they really were more seductive. So, sure.
When was the last time you took a bath with rose petals?
The first time I moved into my home.
It's a good way to break it in. What is your favorite book?
On Writing by Stephen King.
It's very practical. What was the last time you checked a book out from the library?
Does it count when you do the book exchange at the airport?
Yeah, we'll go with that. That's fine.
I'm currently reading a book called After by Stephen King that was published just last month.
I'm detecting a trend. And the last question, the most important question, since this was a film with Kristin Davis, which Sex and the City character would you describe yourself as?
Charlotte.
Charlotte, perfect. That makes sense. And so the film is out. It's already out apparently on Netflix, and it's coming out on VOD June 1st, 2021. I saw a bunch of projects in pre-production already, but I guess what's next for you? After you're done promoting this film, what's next on the horizon? I assume writing and directing.
Like literally today, I am working on Blunts, It's another psychological thriller, totally different world, also about a mother. I'm really excited about it, and I need to finish it by Memorial Day weekend.
All right, good luck. I love that you're kind of like like one of the Disney youths. You grow up in like kids films, and all of a sudden you're like, no, I gotta break out of this. I gotta do something different to change my look.
It's seriously the same psychology, and it's like you're one extreme to the other. You're like, I gotta break out. I gotta go so far out. Yeah, it probably. I think you're onto something right there.
All right,
Yeah,
awesome.
and thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we have a new poster and a new trailer that's coming out, or is out, and so it's more pulpy, and I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time. This is Anna Elizabeth James, the writer and director of Deadly Illusions, which is already on Netflix and it's releasing on VOD on June 1st, 2021. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
That was Anna Elizabeth James, the writer and director of Deadly Illusions, which releases digitally on June 1st, 2021, so you can draw yourself a nice bath and watch it in the comfort of your own home. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot to make sure all my new interviews go straight to you. And as always, please go to watchyourpast.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.